Today I'm talking with sales and business coach Ryan Dowdy. She helps high achieving women leave their 9 to 5 and build six-figure businesses by teaching them how to master sales conversations and the mindset that goes with sales. Now, I know a lot of you are running your business or are self-employed in some way. And sometimes, and I know especially you creatives, you feel a little bit icky about the sales, the sales process, the sales conversations. Today's podcast will help you overcome that fear. Please enjoy. Welcome to the show, Ryan. I must say, I'm been really excited to have you on here because, as we were saying beforehand, salespeople and actors are so great to chat with. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Now, Ryan, as I said in the introduction, she's a sales, what can I say? Extraordinaire. That's her thing. She's amazing at it. But what she's even better is she's got that teacher's heart, so she can teach other people how to sell. And she's been doing it for decades. And now she's really focused on helping specifically women entrepreneurs solve that problem. You know, most of you listeners, I know you're talented, you're exceptional, you're just a genius at what you do. But one thing we've all noticed is when you step up to the plate and you say, I'm creating my own brand, I'm creating my own business, and you go into that self-employed-dom, the one thing that you suffer with the most is getting clients. In other words, making sales. Would you agree, Ryan?
100%. 100%. I mean, that's, you couldn't have said it better myself. There are so many brilliant, talented humans in the world who have incredible gifts, and they're just really struggling to master that sales part of the business. And it's everything from I've never done it before to I don't want to learn how to it feels yucky and gross and spammy and I don't want to do that, and back again. So I've seen it all.
Why do you think women in particular struggle with it?
Oh, well, one, sales careers in general have always been very masculine. I actually, you say I spent decades in sales. I did. I started as an individual contributor, went all the way up to running my own sales organization. And Marilyn, I couldn't even get, female sales candidates, right? So even as just a career, not even entrepreneurship, but as a career, there's not a lot of women seeking to learn sales. And I think it's because of the way we describe sales roles, the words that we use. It's always aggressive and hunter and money motivated. And most women, while we have that skill set, don't identify in that way. So I think some of it is in the words we use. And then I also think some of it is just the way that we're socialized, right? Selling is about putting ourselves out there. Selling is about follow-up. Selling is about really solving problems. And there's so many things wrapped up in selling that we've been told not to do, right? Not to talk about money, not to be pushy, not to be annoying. And if you go all the way back, little girls are meant to be seen and not heard, right? So I mean, depending on what generation you grew up in, everything about sales is like, nope. And so that's, I think a lot of it is conditioning. And then a lot of it is what business in general, the stereotype that has been created around sales.
I want to talk about your business and how you do that, but can we talk about you for a little bit? How far back did you discover a love of sales? Let's go all the way back. What did you dream of as a teenager or as a child?
Actually, I wanted to be a writer. I told my mom at the age of 9, I was going to write a book. Random fun fact, I'm writing a book. So
did you know what it was going to be?
No, not at all. I didn't, but I actually was going into college as a journalism major and then made a pivot in college into advertising and marketing, which is actually where I spent my entire sales career. I sold advertising. I discovered that while I enjoyed advertising and marketing, I wasn't actually creative. So when you have a communications degree, there's not a lot of job options that aren't sales. So I never sought out to sell. I wound up falling into that career and falling into that opportunity and learning very quickly that the financial opportunity there was exponentially higher than taking a salaried role and working my way up. So I was quickly out earning my peers in just a couple of years. and then just kind of fell in love with it. Once I stumbled into it, but once I got good at it and I realized that it was a craft and it was something that you could study and practice and get better at, really fell in love with it, but never really sought to be an entrepreneur either. Once I got good at sales, it was like, I'm in control of my income. I'm in control of, my time and all this other stuff. So even entrepreneurship was not ever really on my roadmap. So you could say my career has been a series of surprises that have worked out very well for me.
Well, I can tell just meeting you and chatting with you, you just have such energy, and it's like you epitomize what great sales should be. So it's very attractive. So you probably, and that's a question I want to lead to is sales a personality thing? Is it an energy a personality that has lots of energy? Can it be learned? Is it, the chicken or the egg thing?
It's the chicken or the egg. I actually don't think so. I do. And I actually have a lot of clients that struggle with, well, Ryan, you're outgoing. You're an extrovert. You're an expert. You've done this for years. And that actually has nothing to do with it. I think that, my energy makes me excellent on camera and it makes me a really good marketer, but selling in general, I really think is about relationships. And I even hear this a lot from my introverts, right? They're like, I'm an introvert. I'm like, no, that's why you're excellent at sales, because selling is about relationships, right? It's about really building that connection and solving problems. So I think that sales is a skill that can 100% be learned. And because it really is about connection, human to human connection, relationships, solving problems, and really building a network. And I think that there is any personality type. There's some personality types it comes more natural to, right? I was always, a chatty kid. Like you told me you were Australian and you were chatty, and I'm like, I'm a salesperson. Obviously, I'm chatty. So, so I was the kid who, like, on every report card, it was like, Ryan is an excellent student, but she talks too much. Like that was my entire life. You're welcome, Mom. It worked out okay. But so I think that the people make the assumption that just because of that, my gift of gab, that I'm excellent at sales. But I would say arguably that I've met just as many people who are quiet and subdued and excellent listeners and just a lot softer than me, and not quite, I talk with my hands and I talk fast, and people on the opposite end of the spectrum that are excellent salespeople.
Let's talk about introverts for a moment.
Okay.
How that I know lots of introverts. It's, I sit here and go, yeah, it's okay for you, but I still feel icky about selling. What do I do?
Yeah.
Apart from sign up with you and get your help, but
obviously,
shameless plug there.
it's the reframe of what selling is. So my belief is that most of us have a negative viewpoint on sales for one of two reasons. One, we were sold to in a way that didn't feel good, right? We had somebody try to strong arm us into something, talk us into something, so that's happened. There's actually three reasons. Two, there's some programming that comes into that. I always tell a story of, like, when I was a kid, I remember, I'm going to age myself right now, getting calls, like when telemarketers would call your house, like they would call the landline in your house and try to sell you stuff, like during dinner. And I remember my dad being like, damn salespeople, so there's that programming. And then, like, I challenge someone to find me a movie that includes a salesperson that is portrayed in a positive light. Yeah. Like, they just don't exist. No. So first we have to understand what's really forming that thought, because we think it's sales. Right. And I know I've listened to some of your podcasts, so I know you kind of get the mind bendy part of mindset and the way that our brains work. But, like, on paper, the definition of sales is the exchange of a product or service for money. That's it. And so all the other drama we have, icky, yucky, gross, pushy, annoying, slimy, sleazy, those are all thoughts.
Totally.
Those are all thoughts based on, like I said, one of those three things: previous experience, past programming, or just what we have seen portrayed. So for that person that's like, no, not me, it's like, yeah, you have to do the mindset work, just like you have to do it for anything else in business and in life, to really get past that. And then my reframe always is around selling is helping and selling is serving. Right? Like you said, there are hugely, amazingly talented humans in this world whose businesses are struggling because they are afraid of selling. And if we can get to that point with selling is my opportunity to serve, selling is my opportunity to make an impact, selling is my opportunity to end the suffering of my ideal client. And so really getting into that idea is that people walk around in the world with the problem that you solve until you solve it for them. And again, it's not about a robust personality. It's not about being amazing on live streams. None of that is really relevant. it really all comes back to being really good at talking to people, understanding them, making them feel important, making them feel seen, making them feel heard, and then, building that connection and solving problems, which I would argue introverts are exponentially better at than extroverts.
Oh, absolutely.
We just talk a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's often we associate, I've got to have a huge, huge audience to be able to sell, which it's not the case, is it?
No, not even a little bit.
And introverts are great with a small audience.
Totally. Yeah, it's one-to-one. I feel there's a pendulum swing happening right now, Marilyn. Online entrepreneurship was like automation for a very long time, right? The automated evergreen emails, the 776 emails that went out. I mean, just all of that. And today's consumer just wants somebody to talk to them. Yeah. They say it all the time. We're more connected than ever before, and people feel more alone than ever before. Yeah. And so I would argue that it's not about audience size, which is, yes, of course, we want to have large email lists and large followings, and those things are relevant and important. But I know people with 80,000 Instagram followers that aren't making any money. And I know people with, 1,000 Instagram followers that are making multiple six figures. It's really about taking the time and energy to build those relationships. And the audience will come through experience, through social proof, through networking, through referrals. But it's like you said, it's the chicken or the egg model, but I disagree. Like, I think there is no chicken or the egg. There is go talk to people, solve problems, make money, and the audience will come.
I love that. Go talk to people, solve problems, make money. That's it, isn't it?
That is the equation for business.
Yeah. So what's the difference then? Because people ask me this, and I have my own answers, but I would like to hear from you, the expert. What is your definition of sales versus marketing, or what's the difference between those two terms?
Absolutely. To me, marketing is getting people's attention. Like, we are standing on the corner with your megaphone, being like, hey, by the way, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is the problem that I solve. That is marketing. And maybe somebody's listening, maybe they're not, maybe they're scrolling on their iPhone or doing 87 other things, right? Selling is about converting leads to clients. So marketing can generate leads. And I sold marketing for 15 years, so I'm allowed to say this. I can generate leads for you until I am blue in the face. But if you cannot convert them, it's a waste of money. Right. So to me, marketing is about the megaphone. It's about, talking to I do believe if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one, but you're talking to a lot of people. It might be a lot of the same people. We're talking to a lot of people. Sales is about one-to-one, conversion, taking that sea of however many people and converting them one by one by one. So that's kind of the best way that I can think to describe it is marketing is the lead gen piece, the forward facing piece, your online storefront piece, and sales is that conversion piece, how we get that person from stranger on the internet to paying.
And what about organic lead generation? I mean, there's a lot of what we're seeing in front of our eyes, a lot of the paid, especially with Facebook, it's wobbly right now, and there's lots of changes and it's unpredictable, and it's like, hello, organic. Yeah.
So organic is my jam. Like, that's really how I started my business. And I started it all through networking in Facebook groups. And I'm a huge fan of that. And I would say, arguably, I'm one of those people who has a relatively small audience in online entrepreneur land, and have made a significant amount of money from the size of my audience, because we have a Facebook group, Marilyn, of around 7,000 people. We literally have DM'd every single person in that Facebook group. We have built a relationship with them. We've had a conversation with them. And through that, our Facebook group grows primarily through referrals. There'll be somebody else will be in another Facebook group looking for, hey, I need help networking, or I'm looking to sign clients, or I want to leave my 9-to-5, or, how do I get my virtual assistant business off the ground? And we get tagged 7 or 8 times in one of those threads in larger groups. And so much of that has come from that human to human connection. So we have people referring us who have never bought from us before. So I'm a huge fan of organic lead gen. And I think it needs to be an important part of everyone's strategy right now. Cause like you said, it's the Wild West out there today. So I'm a big fan of it. Facebook is making it harder and harder, even on the organic side, though. We've been leaning a lot more lately towards Instagram, because Instagram tends to be a little bit more DM friendly, relationship friendly. You don't have to go searching for another inbox to find that connection request from someone you're not friends with. But I mean, I strongly encourage having an organic lead gen strategy in your business. And again, I work with new entrepreneurs, and you have to start organic. That's my belief, because Facebook ads are a big, wild, hefty, crazy beast to wrangle. And if you don't know your ideal client inside and out, you don't know their pain points, you don't know what keeps them up at night, you don't know 100% why they buy and the results that you get people, you can waste a ton of cash. So I think that all entrepreneurs, can literally grow to multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars without ads. In fact, we did. We didn't start running ads until we were well over multiple six figures.
Why do you think people struggle with that whole phrase, ideal client? It's so... It feels like everyone tells us to do it. Everyone tells us to niche down. Why do we struggle with it? What's our problem?
So I actually don't think that it is in the beginning as much about an ideal client as it is about a problem that you solve.
So I agree 100%.
Yes.
I agree.
Because I always use the example of, say, I work with a lot of like digital marketers and virtual assistants and bookkeepers. So say you're a virtual assistant who is excellent at, email and calendar management, right? Like maybe that's your jam, is keeping busy entrepreneurs organized through their inbox and their calendars, right? There's going to be a lot of different people that have that problem. Right? It might be an online entrepreneur. It might be someone who owns a landscaping business. Maybe it's a course creator. Maybe it's a digital marketing agency owner. And you go out and you work with a lot of different people. And then through that, you learn, what do you like? What do you not like? What works better with your personality? What industries do you enjoy more? That sort of stuff. And so I don't think it's as much about... Because I think the reason we struggle with it, to answer your initial question, is because we've been told that our ideal client should be a person with a name, and we should know her name or their name, and what kind of shoes they wear, and what magazines they read, and their sister's cousin's uncle, whatever. And we're like, dude, I don't even know what kind of shoes I wear. Like, I can't tell you what kind of shoes she wears.
So true.
And so then we get lost in the overwhelm, because I can't tell you her name, and I can't tell you her, what magazine she reads, because do people even read magazines anymore? I don't even know if that's a thing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and so that then our brain is like, oh my gosh, this is scary. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I pick the wrong magazine? What if I pick the wrong shoes? And then we just wind up in overwhelm. And so I think we have so much drama because it's been painted of this like thing that we're supposed to have, instead of really getting good at what is the problem we're really good at solving for people. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. Now you've got a thing called uncensored CEOs. What is that about? I love that.
Yeah. So the uncensored term came out of, Marilyn, my story. I did everything I was supposed to do in life. I was a Division I scholarship athlete. I went to college, I graduated college, I got a job, I climbed the ladder, I did all the things. I got a master's degree, I got married, I had babies, I had my dream job, and I woke up at like 33, 34 and was like, this can't be it. Like, this is not where I thought I would be at this point in life. Like, aren't I supposed to feel different? And so it really became, to me, uncensored is about living life outside of the lines. It is about... Oh,
I love that. Yeah. Say it again.
The uncensored is about living life outside of the lines. Because again, you serve a similar audience that I do. We did everything we were supposed to do, and we're like, well, this isn't all that much fun. And so the uncensored CEO is kind of our we call it a manifesto, where it really is about being in control of your time, of your money, of who you spend time with, of the work that you do, of the impact you make in the world. And I used to really hate, in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I never identified with the word CEO, right? Like, CEO was an old white dude who sat in a corner office and barked orders. And I was like, nobody wants to do that. But to me now, it is about the CEO of your life, not just the CEO of your business. But we are so programmed to just respond, right? To just do what we're told. And, we wake up in our mid-30s being like, well, I did everything I was told, and I don't know who wrote this playbook, but it kind of sucks. And so to be the uncensored CEO, she gets to write her own book. She gets to do whatever she wants to do. She doesn't make excuses. She doesn't, let roadblocks get her down. And she realizes that she's in control of her life. And I think it's a really empowering, really fun place to be.
I love that. And there's a lot of emotion when you use the word, as well as CEO, but as well as the word entrepreneurship. I find you have women going, isn't that Richard Branson and someone who trades on the stock market or, something like that. And they don't see themselves or are even comfortable with that word. They may use business owner, but even deeper, I know there's a lot of women say they're authors or they're experts at what they do. They're self-employed, but they would never call themselves entrepreneurs. Do you think that's a mistake, or do you think that's
semantics?
And what do you think about that? Do you think it's something that we should embrace? I believe we should all learn entrepreneurial skills and be entrepreneurial. But I'd love to hear your take on that.
I don't think I have a strong opinion on that one, strangely, because I have strong opinions on a lot of things. But I think it's semantics. Like, we live in a world now where we get to make up our job titles. Like, the last advertising agency I worked in, like, when we ordered business cards, like, you got to choose your title. Like, it was just like made up, weird, fun stuff. And it was fun and it was exciting and it was a conversation piece. And so, like, when I think of whatever you call yourself, I guess it's, do you like your reasons why you're calling yourself that, right? Are you calling yourself an expert because that feels safer than entrepreneur? Or are you calling yourself an expert because that's just what you are? So I don't have a lot of strong opinions about it. I've always leaned into entrepreneur. To me, like, entrepreneur is a little bit more of a pioneer, and like the business owner is a little more traditional, right? Like, when you say business owner, I think of like small business, brick and mortar location, or like more traditional business model. And I think of entrepreneur as more, they're pioneering something new. They're, taking risks, putting themselves out there. So that's my personal opinion on it. But like, why we do or don't call ourselves that, I don't know.
For me, it's a little bit more aspirational, but I also know cultural as well. I know I've got a truly international audience. I have a lot of Europeans, a lot of British. When you say the word entrepreneur to British, often they'll turn their nose up and go, Phil, that's very American. But it's like, and us Aussies kind of sit in the middle, geographically and, philosophically. But it's interesting that, I would challenge you to be aspirational as an entrepreneur. And I think sometimes it could be an excuse just to play small, can't it?
I like that. I think we make a lot of excuses to play small, and whether that goes with what we call ourselves or how we show up, I think we make a lot of excuses about playing small.
What frustrates you about the industry that you're in?
Woo, how much time you got? No, my biggest frustration, Marilyn, is that we have a tendency. So this is exactly what happened to me, and I see it happen to 90% of my clients. I wound up down some rabbit hole where I started getting served ads about business. I started listening to podcasts. I started downloading the freebies and attending the webinars and doing all the things. And all of the advice was prescribed to everyone, right? So like, the first thing they tell you is like, start an email list, right? Like, that is the ultimate thing that you're told to do. And, to start building an audience and to develop a freebie and an opt-in and build a website and do all this other stuff. And what winds up happening is, especially for new entrepreneurs who are not 100% sure on their niche, their ideal client, what they're doing, they're still trying to get their footing, they're still just taking whatever projects or opportunities come their way, you can waste an exponential amount of time, money, and energy on those things. And it feels very productive. I find a lot of people hiding behind those activities instead of just going out and talking to people. They're like, oh, I'm tweaking my website, or I need to develop my pricing. Like, I have clients obsessed with pricing that have never even spoken to a potential client. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what you price your services until you have a person to sell to. And so my biggest frustration is the blanket messaging is geared towards like 6-figure plus entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs under six figures are trying to do those things and they're failing at that. And I can speak from experience. Like I did everything. I had a website, I had a freebie, I had an email list, I ran some Facebook ads. I spent literally thousands of dollars and I didn't have a single client. And once I threw all that crap out the window and just started talking to people and solving problems, I started signing clients and my business grew exponentially over the course of 2 years. And of course, now I use all of those tools, right? Now I have an email list. Now I have a freebie. Now I have a community. Now I focus on audience building. Now I have a niche. Now I have a one-liner kind of positioning statement. But my frustration is that we waste so much time on crap that doesn't make money and that it's being perpetuated by larger kind of gurus with large followings. And people are like, oh, well, that person has a 7-figure business, so I'm going to do what that person does, not realizing that, like, ask that person what they were doing at 0 to 100K, because what they're doing at 7 figures is not what they were doing at 0 to 100K at all. And most of them, it came through a little form of hustle. And so I'm going to add that on there too. The demonizing of the word hustle also kind of frustrates me. Because, and I get the point is there's the hustle of like, we don't want to work 80 hours and burn ourselves out and all that other stuff. But like, if you would like to be the owner, the CEO of an empire, you're going to have to bust your ass a little bit. You're going to have to work hard. It's you and I.
Even just get 6 figures. Yeah.
Totally.
You're going to have to do. Yeah.
You're going to have to hustle.
I like to use the phrase. Yeah. I like to use the word. I was thinking about it recently and I thought, there is a lot of pushback and hustle. And I do too, because I feel that especially women, we know how to hustle. We know we're born hustlers, especially if you're mums as well, you know how to do it. But I think for me, it's that phrase, do the work versus working hard. I heard that in an interview with an actress and she said, you've got to do the work. And I thought, I love that. I'm going to take that phrase, do the work rather than, unpleasant hard work.
And like I said, I don't perpetuate hustle in the way of burnout and being unhealthy and at the expense of your whatever. But, but the idea of, again, what's being perpetuated is you can work 5 hours a week and make millions. And I'm like, yes, you certainly can. When you have a team of 100,
when you have, and
and all you have to do is like meet with your leaders every week. And like, you have a well-oiled machine, but we're perpetuating that to the newbie. And then they're beating themselves up, Marilyn, because what's wrong with them? Because they've got to work way more than 5 hours. Am I doing it wrong? If I had $1 for every time somebody told me I must be doing something wrong, when it was like, no, you're just learning something new. You're just learning something new. You're not doing it wrong, or maybe you are doing it wrong, but we always do it wrong in the beginning. Name something that you just like started doing and you were like, I'm amazing at this on the first try. It's just not human nature. There's those like annoyingly talented people, but like
so true.
General humans, we are not. And so like all of that kind of bums me out about the industry, because by the time I get into they get into my world, oftentimes they spent a lot of money, a lot of time. They second guess their decisions. They don't trust themselves. They're wondering if they should even be entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of that because, again, many of them have bought the courses and they've done the things and they've watched the webinar.
It doesn't work.
And they've been told they should be able to make money, not working very hard, no hustle required. And by the way, automation is king and you should never have to talk to a human.
With a little tiny offer.
With your baby offer of $27, because that's going to make you rich.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's think. If someone is listening and they're still in that 0 to, or probably the 20 to 50,000 to 100, they haven't cracked that yet. Yeah. Okay. And let's admit it. The majority, the highest percentage, we all talk about we want 7 figures, but look, only 1.7% get there. Yeah. So let's get to 6 figures first. Okay. If someone was listening and they're like, I'd really love to get to 6 figures this year, what would be the top 3 things on their to-do list this week?
Totally. Every single working day, there needs to be networking on your calendar. We call these income producing activities. You have my checklist, which we're going to give to your audience, my money making checklist, which is all about the income producing activities. So all the different ways one can network. But it's talking to people. One-to-one conversations have to happen every single day. It can be done in Facebook groups. It can be done on Instagram. It can be done on LinkedIn. It can be done on Clubhouse. You can't. Clubhouse, you have to take it to Instagram, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it can be done on TikTok. It doesn't matter. But the number one thing you have to do is you have to talk to people. I say there's two things. One, the more people who know what you do, the more money you make. One. And two, relationships equals clients. Going back to our ideal client conversation, everybody is out there looking for an ideal client instead of just looking to build relationships. And if we would just stop looking for clients and start building relationships, we would find clients. Because every single person that we meet, every single person we connect with, they have a network. They know people. They might be able to refer us. But I hear all the time, like, oh, nobody in my network needs a virtual assistant. I'm like, yeah, but who do they know? Like, maybe your cousin's boyfriend is an entrepreneur and needs a VA, but you didn't bother to tell her or tell anybody on social media because you're embarrassed. So, to me, step one, talk to people, right? That is the first thing that we need to do. The second thing is getting clear on the problem that we solve. Being really, really, really clear with that. And a fun exercise for this is why 3 times. So when you think about this is what I do. So say you are a social media manager, right? Why would somebody hire you? And they would hire me because, they hate writing social media content. Okay, well, why? Well, because they're not sure what to say to their ideal client. Okay, well, why? Well, because there's so many different platforms that they get really overwhelmed and they don't know how to show up. Well, why is that important to them? Well, because they understand that having a presence on social media is, really important in today's, climate, and they feel overwhelmed and frustrated and kind of silly because they don't like it and they don't understand it. Right. And really drilling down into that, that is, I think, the secret sauce. So spending some time there. So number 1 is talking to people. Number 2 is really understanding the problem that you solve. And then number 3 ties into number 1, is stop underestimating your network, who you already know. Who in your warm market can you have a cup of coffee with, have a cup of tea, buy a drink, talk to somebody. Everybody knows somebody. And we underestimate our friends and our people's networks because until you've had to tap into it, you might not realize it, but everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So if you're like, what am I going to do this week? It's like, who's that former colleague that you used to work with that like was always happy houring with clients, right? Like, book a cup of coffee with that person.
And just chat.
Right. No. We're not there to sell anything. We're there to just chat.
Don't sell. We're not selling.
Because my whole business came out of networking. I just kept coffeeing and talking to people. I tell people I spent all of 2018 drinking coffee. And it was funny because I was pregnant for half the year. So I think I was drinking decaf, but, but just through learning and talking to people and hearing the words that they used and how they described things, like it's the ultimate like market research. And when you tell somebody, like, gauge their reaction when you say, I'm a business consultant. Do their eyes glaze over? Do they know what that means? Do they understand it? Like it's practice. So those are kind of the practical things. I'm like, talk to people every day, every working day. Like I said, if you work 3 days a week, game on. If you work 5, game on. But every day, I teach a really simple process called the Power Hour, where we spend an hour a day really intentionally networking, building credibility and authority and talking to people. I think that's the ultimate, most important thing we could do.
I love that. So, Ryan, what do you find hard? I'm sitting here going, she's Superwoman. Is she sure she's got, that underneath that hoodie you're wearing? What do you find hard? Maybe it's to do with what the state of the world right now, or what do you find what's your biggest mindset challenge you're working on right now?
Yeah. Oh, that's an excellent question. For me, it is really catching my brain up with where I'm at in business. I share my story 4 years ago.
Ooh.
I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And now I'm an entrepreneur running 2 businesses. I have 6 employees, and there are some, and now I have 2 small children, and I'm like, anybody watching me? Do they know that I don't actually know what I'm doing? And so like, I mean, and I do obviously, like when it comes to serving my clients, but even today we had some turnover on a team and I had to like go in and change passwords. And I'm like, I don't know the Stripe password. Like, what is that happening in the world? I don't even know whose phone number are we texting these verification codes to. I have no idea what's happening. And so for me, it's sometimes catching up. Like, I still feel like a baby entrepreneur myself, right? My business is 2.5 years old. And so catching up with where I'm at and the responsibility that I carry. And then the days when I realize the responsibility that I carry, Marilyn, that's where I'm like, oh, wow, this is a lot. But then I mean, I've gotten good, and I work with a really excellent coach, and I have since the beginning, to help me get through that and not let that be paralyzing, and instead make it motivating. But I have those days where I'm like, there's a lot of balls in the air right now. So yeah, that's my drama.
Who inspires you as a leader? They could be dead, alive, or even fiction.
Ooh, that's a really good one. First one that comes to mind is Olivia Pope, to be honest. Maybe not. Maybe not a great example. What is it that I love about Olivia Pope is she is the person that, like, people, something is wrong, that's who they call. And I think that's pretty badass. My now business partner, Kelly Roach, has been my coach from the very beginning. And I find her extremely inspirational as far as what she's accomplished and her ability to manage family and business and all the things. It's very clear, why I chose her as my coach. We have a lot of parallels in life. And then, when I think like really big picture of like who are the people that I really think are making like giant change in the world. Like, I'm trying to think, like, there's a bunch of names flying around in my head. It's like, who do I want to be someday? It's kind of like when I think of inspiration.
When you grow up?
When I grow up, when somebody realizes an action on what I'm doing with my life, who, like, I don't even know if she exists yet, but she exists in my head. Like the female version of like Tony Robbins. Like, I want a woman in that arena. The Tony Robbins, the Bob Proctors, the Brian Tracy's, all the big name professional personal development gurus like Grant Cardone and all those guys. And I want a woman like that inspires me.
We need a woman on there, don't we?
The fact that, and I think like it's the lack of woman that inspires me. Like, there needs to be a woman, and I've got my eyes set on it. And if another woman gets there first, I'm going to cheer her on. There needs to be a woman in that arena, and that inspires me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much for this conversation. Is there anything else you would love to share with the listeners?
My biggest thing is just to remember that, like, every single person we talk to is just a human. We think when, that person, they have more experience than me, or they know this, or they know that. And it's like, hey, we're all just humans dealing with life in a pandemic and running businesses and trying to be superhuman and trying to make it look good on Instagram. And, that's never the full story ever. So just be mindful of that. When you look at that person you admire, and you look at that person who's kicking butt and taking names, or you're looking at that person whose business grew really fast, or that person that seems to have their stuff together, or that person that seems to be super mom, like we've all got stuff, and don't let the social media highlight reel, dim your light because you feel for that you're not as perfect as
I love that.
There.
I ask all my guests this. You've probably heard this. The title of this podcast is Lead Your Day. And I use the lead your phrase with a lot of things that I do. And ultimately, I guess my whole message is lead your world. It can be a message to anyone, but it can mean different things to different people. So if I say that phrase, lead your world, what does it mean to you?
To me, it's about focusing on what you can control. Lead what you can control, your world, your slice of the world, not the whole world, but like be the leader in the world that you have. And like, whether that is, your email list of 12, or your Facebook group of 46, or your, husband and kids, or whatever that is for you, like, be the best leader you can possibly be for the people in your circle right now.
I think it's kind of like a close first cousin to an uncensored CEO, isn't it? That leader of your world. Oh, thank you so much, Ryan. It's been absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yes,
and
thank you.
We could could go on all day, but we wouldn't get anything else done. Life
late
is
here.
screaming
It's
at
past
us.
my bedtime here, so
Oh,
we can't.
okay. Must go to bed. You need your wind down time.
Yes.
But thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much. This is a lot of fun.